Welcome to Teaching Truth. Moses and the barrier that was the Red Sea. That's the theme for our reflections this week as we are journeying with Moses during a significant event in his life as he led the people, the Israelite nation, across the Red Sea. We dive into, as it were, the story in Exodus chapter 14, and we're reading from verse 5. Again, just to paint the picture for our reflections today, as we look at the dilemma which Moses and the people faced. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds about them and said, "What have we done? We have let the Israelites go and have lost their services." So he had his chariots made ready and took his army with him. He took 600 of the best chariots, along with all the other chariots of Egypt, with officers over all of them. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so that he pursued the Israelites who were marching out boldly. The Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, horsemen and troops, pursued the Israelites and overtook them as they camped by the sea near Pi Hahiroth, opposite Baal Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses and the Israelites were facing a dilemma. The Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, horsemen and troops, had pursued the Israelites. They had overtaken them as they were camping by the sea. And as we've just read, Moses was in a dilemma. He was leading the people. And the dilemma that he had was that he was being questioned. His leadership was being challenged. "What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? Moses, what on earth have you done?" The dilemma that Moses and the Israelites were in was a cul-de-sac. There was no exit from it except by the way that they had entered. The murmurs and protestations of the people would have been very clear to hear. "Moses, is this really the way to Canaan? I mean, come on, we know better than you. You've led us along the wrong route here. You've led us literally down a cul-de-sac. Moses, you have definitely got it wrong." And for Moses, the leader, such murmurings and such protestations must have been difficult and not easy to hear. He had a dilemma. He was to lead the people, but he was also having to listen to the people. And yet, because Moses was God's man and God's leader, he was able to listen to the people because he was a man who, through previous experiences, had learned utterly to trust his God. F.B. Meyer says this, that often God seems to place his children in positions of profound difficulty, leading them into a wedge from which there is no escape, contriving a situation which no human judgment would have permitted had it been previously consulted. The people were in a dilemma situation, as if the detour hadn't been enough, this detour through the desert. God has now led them right to the banks of the Red Sea as the Egyptian army is coming over the hill. The chariots would have been seen, the horses' hooves would have been heard. And now Moses and the Israelites are literally hemmed in, pinned down. There is no escape. There is no get out of jail free card available. Mountains either side of them, the sea in front of them, and Pharaoh's military is fast approaching. It's a dead end. It's a cul-de-sac. Their back is against the wall. They're in a dilemma. They're questioning the leadership of Moses. You see, God has used Moses to lead them to freedom from slavery, and now the people are questioning his ability to lead them from this point on. But God had prepared Moses for such a time as this. Maybe today there is a dilemma in your life. Maybe God has led you, and you can understand it, to the banks of a altogether different Red Sea, to a situation in your life. You feel hemmed in, pinned down. You feel that the mountains of life and the armies of those who are against you are approaching, are all round about you. You feel there is no way out of the situation you are in. You feel as if you're in a dilemma. Well, hear this, that just as God was with Moses and the Israelite people in the dilemma that they were in, God is with you as you stand, as it were, by the banks of your Red Sea, looking at the dilemma that you feel you are in. In the dilemma, God is with you. In your dilemma, your God is with you.